Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let's chant one round of japa with Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam for All session. Let's recite Bhagavad Gita Shloka, Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, Chapter 9, Text 32. Does anyone need to go first? Okay, then we'll just go in order. Achintya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Please repeat, Prabhuji. Mam hi partha vyapashritya
Mami Partha Vyapashrita Shritya
yepi syu papayonayaha.
Yepi Shyu Papa Yonaha
स्त्रियो वैश्यास्तथा शूद्रास्
Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras
तेऽपि यान्ति परां गतिम्.
Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. Translation: O son of Pratha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishya, merchants, and Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Aditi Lata Mataji and Arunita. We don't hear you. Hare Krishna. Come closer to the device.
Those who can take shelter in me, though they may be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepi papayonaya striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi anti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Sudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So, Inba and Inya are not here. Krishna Ashish or Asapriya?
Nritya yepisyu papayonayaha striyo vaishyasthatha sudras tepiyanti param gatam. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaisyas, merchants, and Sudras, can attain their supreme destination.
Yeah. Dhanush and Sugita.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mam hiti paratha.
Okay, you repeat after me.
Okay.
Mam hi partha vyapashritya.
Mam hi viparista.
Say again. Mam hi partha vyapashritya.
Mam hi partha viparista.
Ye pisyu papayonayaha.
Ye pishu papayonaha.
Striyo vaishyas tatha shudras.
Striyo Vaishnavas.
Not Vaishnava, Vaishya. Not Vaishnava, Vaishya.
Vaishyas. Tatha Shudras.
Tepi yanti param gatim.
Papi. Yanta param gatim.
Tepi yanti param gatim.
Tepi yanti param gatim.
Please read the translation.
O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they may be lower of birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination.
Yes. Is Sugita going to recite?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, you repeat after me. Mam hi partha vyapashritya.
Nami Pata Vaipishya
Vyapashritya.
Rapashit
Ye pisyu papayonayaha.
Ye Pishu Papayonaya
Striyo vaishyas tatha shudras.
Shriya Vaisha Tata Sudras
Tepi yanti param gatim.
Devi Yanti Param Gatim.
Yeah, please read the translation.
O son of Pritha,
Pritha. Yeah, correct. Go ahead.
those who take shelter in me, though they be lower births, women, Vaishyas, Shudras, can attend the supreme destination.
Yes. Thank you. Lokesh. Hare Krishna.
Mamparta Varshatya Yepi Stoya Papa Yonaya Striyo Vasyata
Shudras.
Devi Yanti Param Gatim Hosana Puta. Those who take shelter of me, they know me, they be of lower birth.
Very hungry. Can you give me some?
Women, Vaishyas, and merchants and Sudras workers can attain the supreme destination.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Dandavat pranam Mataji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Mam hi partha vipashitya yepi shyo papayonayah sriyo vaishyas tata sudras tepi yanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Sudras workers can attain the supreme destination. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat pranam, Krishna Prabhupada Guru Maharaj.
Dandavat pranam Prabhuji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Mam hi partha vyapashritya epi shupapa yonayah striyo vaishyas tata sudras te api yanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and Sudras can attain the supreme destination. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay. Inba Inia, Jai Ganesh Prabhu, Jai Shri Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepi syu papayonayah striyo vaishyas tata shudras tepi yanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination.
Yeah. Inba.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mam hi partha vyapashitya yepi syu papayonayah striyo vaishyastata shudras tepi yanti param gatim. Translation. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination.
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Dandavat pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat pranam Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Mam partha vyapashritya yepi syu papayonayah striyo vaishyas tata shudras tepi yanti param gatim. Translation, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Sudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination.
Thank you. Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Can I repeat, Mataji?
Yes. Mam hi partha vyapashritya
Mam hi partha vyapashritya
yepi syu papayonayah
yepi syu
papayonayah
स्त्रियो वैश्यास्तथा शूद्रास्
striyo vaishyas tatha shudras
तेऽपि यान्ति परां गतिम्.
tepi yanti param gatim. O son of translation. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they may be of lower birth, women, vaishyas, merchants, and sudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, Madhava.
Those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and Sudras, attain the supreme destination.
Yes. Okay. Next. Usha Mataji and Medha.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Mam hi partha vyapasritya, epi shyuhu papayonaya, striyo vaisyas tata sudras, tepi yanti param gatim. Translation. O son of Pratha, those who take shelter in me, though they may be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and Shudras, can attain the supreme destination. Medha is not here, Mataji.
Okay. Kalpesh Prabhu and Sonia Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Mam hi partha vyapashritya, yepi shyo papayonah, striyo vaishya tata shudra, tepi yanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras, workers, attain this supreme destination. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Sonia Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Mam hi partha vyapashritya, yepi syuhu papayonayaha, striyo vaishyas tatha sudras, tepi yanti param gatim. Translation. O son of Prutha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Sudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Okay. Did anyone not recite yet? Everyone has recited. Okay. Bhagavad Gita 9:32. Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepi syuhu papayonayah striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi yanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas or Shudras, can attain the supreme destination. So, what to speak of the people who are committing durachara by karma? That means by bad association, they begin performing sinful activities. They are, of course, purified by doing bhakti, but even those who are performing sinful activities by birth, so those samskaras are hard to get rid of, isn't it? Because by birth, somebody who is born, like we said, Papa Yonaya. Papa Yoni means sinful birth. You take birth as a mlecha or a yavana, and it's just your, like because of taking birth in such a family, it just becomes your nature to do those sinful activities all the time. Even such people, by the power of bhakti, they can be elevated to the highest position. So in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse where Devahuti, Mother Devahuti, is telling, after she heard about Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga and also Bhakti Yoga from Lord Kapil Dev, her son, she became completely convinced of the position of bhakti compared to all other processes. You see, the middle two chapters, chapter 9 and chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, they are the very essence of all the Vedas, of all the scriptures. I told you before, but I'll tell you quickly. The Mahabharata consists of all the topics there may be in the Vedas. Everything is there. All the different, whatever different variety of subjects are there in the Vedas, they are all there in the Mahabharata. Vyasdev has so expertly put them there. And the essence of everything is given in the chapter Bhagavad Gita. And within Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 sections. First 6 chapters, middle 6 chapters, and last 6 chapters. There are 18 chapters in Bhagavad Gita. So the first 6 chapters are talking about Nishkama Karma Yoga. The last 6 chapters are talking about Jnana Yoga. And the middle 6 chapters are talking about Bhakti Yoga. So chapters 7 to 12 are talking about Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the actual goal. So very carefully, like in a sandwich, you have a slice of bread on top, another slice of bread at the bottom, and in between you have the protein and all the vegetables and cheese and everything is inside. Or you can say, so similarly, this bhakti is the most valuable thing that is nicely kept in the middle of Nishkama Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. So the essence of all the scriptures of all the Vedas is there in the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, which is dealing with Bhakti Yoga. Of the 6 chapters, the middle 2 chapters, so there is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Of this 9 and 10 are the middle 2 chapters. They are talking about the superiority of pure devotional service. So in bhakti also you have different types of bhakti, but the topmost is Ananya Bhakti or pure devotion. The middle 2 chapters are talking about how Ananya Bhakti is superior to everything else. So Devahuti, coming back to the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Mother Devahuti, after listening to the different types of yoga from her son Kapil Dev, she understood what is the superiority of bhakti. So now she's giving her conclusion that by chanting the holy names of the Lord, chanting the holy name of the Lord is a very important anga of bhakti. Yesterday in Srimad Bhagavatam we were reading how Shukracharya is telling Vamandev that any activity, if it is accompanied by chanting the holy names of the Lord, that activity becomes faultless. It may have so many faults, but if that activity is accompanied by chanting the names of the Lord, that activity becomes faultless. This is the power of bhakti, of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Especially in Kali Yuga, the only foolproof method of success is chanting the holy names of the Lord. So Mother Devahuti is saying here that anyone, even if he is a Chandala means again a Papa Yoni. Papa Yona, somebody who takes birth in a sinful family. Chandala means a dog eater who cooks and eats dogs. Meat eaters themselves are called mlechas or yavanas. They eat meat. But amongst the meat eaters, those who eat dogs are considered to be the lowest of all. So, and there is a class of people, like a caste, right? There's a class of people who eat dogs all the time. They cook and eat dogs, and they are called chandalas. Mother Devahuti is saying, even if one is a chandala, that means by birth he is from such a family and he is used to cooking and eating meat, not meat, just any meat, dog's meat. Such a person also, when he begins chanting the holy names of the Lord, he can be elevated to the state of now performing fire sacrifice, yagya. You see, yagyas can only be performed by brahmanas. Then how this chandala is able to perform yagya? He becomes purified by chanting the holy names of the Lord. So much so that he can actually perform yagya. He's so purified that now he is qualified to perform yagya. So that is the significance of this verse. Then if such lowest people by birth who are engaged in such sinful activities, if they are able to be elevated, then what to speak of women, Vaishyas and Shudras, who are still within the Varnashram system, but they are considered on a lower level compared to the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas. Certainly they will also be purified. They can also get the highest position. So that is the purport of this verse. So now we'll continue with Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 23. The demigods receive their heavenly kingdoms again. I didn't bookmark yesterday. Yeah, looks like I didn't, but we'll find out. The demigods regain the heavenly planets. So yesterday we were reading that Shukracharya said that, by chanting the names of the Lord, as we discussed just now, whatever faults there may be, those faults are corrected. There's no faults. Why Shukracharya is saying this? Because Vamandev said, please tell me, after Bali Maharaj left and Prahlad Maharaj left, they went to Sutala planet. Lord Hari is speaking to Shukracharya and saying, tell me what are the faults in Bali Maharaj's performing the sacrifice. And if there are any faults, they will be rectified here in the presence of all these Brahmanas. So Shukracharya said, actually there is no fault, because if you're satisfying the Supreme Lord, the purpose of all karma, yajna and everything is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. For the sake of satisfying the Supreme Lord, if he tried to, even if there is some fault, there is no fault actually. So he concluded that by chanting the names of the Lord, whatever faults there may be, that activity becomes faultless. But still, this is one point which I forgot to tell you yesterday, that I must nonetheless act in obedience to your order. So remember, as I said, there are various levels of bhakti. So the Lord is so merciful. Even though we are in different levels, I may not be in Shuddha Bhakti, but still the Lord gives opportunity to all types of people to somehow or other enter Bhakti. Because once you enter Bhakti, then you can progress further. You enter the path of Bhakti. What is Bhakti? Bhakti means seva. Seva means you do activities with your body, mind, or words for the pleasure of the Lord. This is Bhakti. So here, I'm already doing karma. I'm already working. Whatever work I'm doing, I'm cooking, I'm eating, I'm playing, I'm studying, I'm earning money. So many things. I'm sweeping the floor. so much different. All this is karma, different types of karma I'm doing. The Lord wants to give an opportunity to everyone. Okay, you're not directly coming to chant the names of the Lord. You're not directly coming to sit and hear Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. You don't have a taste for this. That is Sakshat Bhakti, direct devotional service. And if somebody is not doing that, it's okay. Whatever you're doing, you offer that to me, the Lord is saying. So when you offer whatever you're doing to the Lord, that is also one level of bhakti, but it's different grades. Remember that. It's not that they're all the same level. But that is also bhakti. That gives you entrance into bhakti. And then you can work your way up to pure devotional service. So that doing your work and offering to the Lord is called Aropa Siddha Bhakti. Aropa means it's like you're labeling it, right? Actually, it is not bhakti, but you put the label, oh, it is also bhakti. That's arop. So another form of Aropa Siddha Bhakti is I do my duties because this is the order of the Lord. For example, Chaturvanyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashah. Krishna says, I created these 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. Now, if somebody says, I must do my duty as a Brahmana because this is ordered by the Lord, I must do the duties of Brahmana, and he very strictly sticks to the duties of Brahmana. Or Stri, women's duties, we read in the 7th canto. I will do these duties because the Lord has ordered. Is that bhakti or not? If you're doing something because it is ordered by the Lord, is it bhakti or not?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, that is bhakti. So with that, so like Shukracharya is saying here, actually, if any work is accompanied by chanting, chanting is direct devotional service. It's called Sakshat Bhakti. It puts you directly in touch with the Lord. But if you're not able to do that, you're still doing karma, activities in this world, but your consciousness is, I should do this work because the Lord has ordered. That also becomes bhakti. That is also Aropa Siddha Bhakti. So here, I just remembered that point. Shukracharya, what is he saying here? He's saying that I must nonetheless act in obedience to your order because obeying your order is most auspicious and is the first duty of everyone. So anyone who is doing something because this is the order of the Lord is the supreme authority, such a person is also a devotee. He may not be a pure devotee yet, but he is also a devotee. So Shukracharya, even though he is the guru of the demons, he is honoring that I must carry it out because it is your order. So that is also entering into Aropa Siddha Bhakti, isn't it? When you do any work, so this is the mercy. You can see how liberal the Lord is. He gives an opportunity to everyone, wherever you are. He gives an opportunity to everyone to engage in bhakti, one way or the other. Whatever you are able to do, you do that for me. Yat karoshi, yad ashnasi, yad juhoshi, dadasi yat, right? Whatever you eat, you give it to me. Whatever work you do, you give it to me. Whatever charity you give to some poor person or some hospital or school, or whatever donation you want to give in the time, you give it to me, right? Before giving it to them, you say, my Lord, I'm offering this act to you. And give it to me means what? Just with your mouth, you just say, utter it. My Lord, this charity that I'm giving to this person, I'm offering it to you. This charity, that means whatever pious credits I get by doing this charity, that is yours. I'm giving it to you. So one practices like this, Aropa Siddha Bhakti. So like that, Shukracharya is saying that I will do this. Actually, there's no need to do any atonement because of any mistakes done. But because this is your order, we will do it. So what did they do? Shukracharya, accepting the order of the Supreme Lord with full respect, along with the other Brahmanas, they started to compensate for the discrepancies in the sacrifices performed by Bali Maharaj. So while he was performing, Bali Maharaj was performing the sacrifices, whatever discrepancies were there, they started compensating for it, like an atonement, right? So for this, again, from the scriptures, how to atone for something, the guide is Shastra always. So everything is given in Shastra. If you do this type of fault, then how can you counteract it? Like that, according to karma, they did that. O King Parikshit, thus having taken all the land of Bali Maharaj by begging the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vamandev, delivered to his brother Indra all the land taken away by Indra's enemy. And after this, Lord Brahma and all the other demigods, they actually accepted Vamandev as the protector of everyone. Until then, Indra was considered to be the king of the universe. But now, after Vamandev's appearance, everyone wanted Vamandev to be the protector of the whole universe, the protector of Vedas, of Dharma, of fame, opulence, auspiciousness, like this. And they decided, all these demigods, everyone decided that we will accept only Upendra, the younger brother of Indra, as the supreme master. And by this decision, all the living entities were extremely happy. And then Lord Indra took Vamandev on his airplane. So he put Lord Vamandev in front of him and he went to his Swarga. And Indra began to rule the three worlds, once again being situated in his position as the king of heaven. Then all Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva and all the other demigods, they were also glorifying Vamandev, and in this way they all returned to their particular homes, their planets. Not only were they glorifying Vamandev, they were also glorifying Aditi for being the mother of Vamandev. I think that's where we stopped yesterday. Let's continue from text 28. सर्वमेतन्मया ख्यातं भवतः कुलनन्दना उरुक्रमस्य चरितं श्रोत्रीणाम् अघमोचनम्. Isha is here. Krishnashish, Madhava. No? Rasapriya.
Oh, Maharaj, accept. I have now the
Pleasure of your dynasty.
I have now described to you everything about the wonderful activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vamandev. Those who hear about this are certainly free from all the results of sinful activities.
So there is Falashruti. Anyone who hears this pastime of how Vamandev took away the wealth of Bali Maharaj and delivered it to Lord Indra, and how much mercy he bestowed upon Bali Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj and the whole, all the Daitya clan. Anyone who hears this pastime, what is the result? Those who hear about this are certainly freed from all the results of sinful activities. So yesterday Dhanush was asking if somebody is afraid that he did some sinful activities and he may have to face Yamaraj, then how can he become, what should he do? Because he's fearful. So here, if you attentively hear this pastime, with faith you hear this pastime of Vamandev, then the Falashruti is anyone who hears about this is certainly freed from all the results of sinful activities. So that person who is fearful, he should hear Bhagavatam. Like this, every episode of Bhagavatam, every section of Bhagavatam has a Falashruti. There is that is just a secondary thing. The purpose of hearing Bhagavatam is not simply to become free from sinful. Actually, the purpose of Bhagavatam is to awaken our love for Krishna. But apart from that, as a side byproduct, we get so many benedictions like this, becoming free from sinful activities and so on and so forth. So Sukadev Goswami is saying, my dear Parikshit Maharaj, you are the pleasure of your dynasty. Why? Because you are a pure devotee. Your dynasty is blessed to have you. So I have now described to you everything about the wonderful activities of Lord Vamandev. Next, Isha. Param mahimna uruvikramato grinano यः पार्थिवानि विममे सरजांसि मर्त्यः किं जायमान उत जात उपैति मर्त्या इत्याह मन्त्रदृगृषिः पुरुषस्य यस्य
One who is subject to the death, to death cannot measure the glories of the Supreme Personality of God, Trivikrama, Lord Vishnu, any more than he can count the number of atoms on the entire planet Earth. No one, whether born already or destined to take birth, is able to do this. This has been sung by the great sage Vasishtha.
Yes. So, Sukadeva Goswami is now glorifying the Supreme Lord. Sukadeva Goswami is saying, one who is subject to death, who is not subject to death in this world? Everyone is subject to death. One who is subject to death cannot measure the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Trivikrama. Trivikrama is also a name for Vamandev. By 3 steps, right? He covered, actually by 2 steps only he covered everything. And Urukrama means whose activities are wonderful. So you cannot estimate the glories of Lord Vamandev or Lord Vishnu if you are a person who is subject to death. Just as nobody can count how many atoms there are on the planet Earth. Can anyone count? Any scientist is able to count how many atoms there are on the surface of the Earth? Impossible. Nobody can count. What to speak of the Earth? Even in one small space, so much you cannot actually count how many atoms there are. So the Lord's glories are unlimited. It's like the number of atoms on the entire Earth. That's also, you cannot compare. They're unlimited. Actually, elsewhere it is said, even if somebody is able to count the number of grains of sand on the whole Earth planet or in the whole universe, still that person will not be able to count the number of glories of the Supreme Lord. So there's no way anyone can count the number of atoms or the grains of sand. Then how anyone will estimate the glories, how many glories there are of the Supreme Lord. So whether born already or somebody is destined to take birth, that includes those who have not taken birth yet, they are about to take birth. Everyone, that includes everyone. Someone who's already here, who has taken birth, and someone who's waiting to take birth. Nobody can estimate the glories of Lord Trivikrama. Who said this? This was said by sage Vasishta. So next, so Madhava and Krishna Shish are not here. Next will be Lokesh. Lokesh, did you read yesterday? No, right?
No, Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead. Vasishta, purport.
Vasishtha Muni has given a mantra about Lord Vishnu. Name Vishnu Jaya.
Nate Vishnur Jayamano na jato mahimnaha param anantam apa.
No one can estimate the extent of the uncommonly glorious activities of the Lord Vishnu. Unfortunately, there are so-called scientists who are subject to death at every moment, but are trying to understand by speculation the wonderful creation of the cosmos. This is a foolish attempt. Long, long ago, Vasishtha Muni said there is no one in the past
Said
could
that
measure.
no one in the past.
Said that no one in the past could measure the activities of the Supreme Lord's creation.
Glories of the Lord.
Oh, sorry, glories of the Lord, and that no one can do so in the future. One must simply be satisfied with seeing the glorious activities of the Supreme Lord's creation. The Lord therefore says in Bhagavad Gita,
Vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekamshena sthito jagat.
With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. The material world consists of innumerable universes, each one full of innumerable planets, which are considered to be products of the Supreme Personality of God's material energy. Yet this is only the 1/4 of God's creation. The other 3/4 of the creation constitute the spiritual world. Among the innumerable planets is only one universe, the so-called uncommon energy.
Scientists.
So-called scientists do not understand even the moon and Mars, but they try to defy the creation of a Supreme Lord and his uncommon energy. Such men have been
Described.
described as crazy.
Nunam pramattah kurute vikarma. Bhagavatam 5:5-4.
Such crazy men unnecessarily waste time, energy, and money in attempting to defy the glorious activities of Urukram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. So, Vasishtha Muni said that anyone who has taken birth in this world or anyone who is yet to take birth can estimate the glories of the Supreme Lord. Where did he say that? This is a mantra about Lord Vishnu given by Vasishtha. Nate Vishnor Jayamano na jato mahimnaha param anantamapa. No one can estimate the extent of the uncommonly glorious activities of Lord Vishnu. But the puffed up, modern man in the form of scientists, they challenge. What is their position? They are all subject to death. They have seen so many great scientists, researchers who died in the past, and they are also going to die. But still, they are trying to understand by speculation this wonderful creation of the cosmos. Trying to understand in what way? Not the way it is explained by the Lord in the scripture, rather by their own speculation. They are godless. If you see scientists, majority, most of them, they don't believe in God. Because they say science and God consciousness, they don't go together. So, with such godless mentality, by their speculation, they want to understand this creation. Srila Prabhupada is saying this is a foolish attempt. This creation is also one of the wonderful activities of the Lord. The Lord's activities are unlimited. And you can see that even in this world. You look at the ocean. The water is unlimited there. Just for example, you look at the sky, the unlimited sky. This is the creation of the Lord. Something which is unlimited, how can you estimate it? You want to count physically and tell how many species there are. You won't be able to, because you yourself are limited. Your capacity is limited. There is one person who is actually trying to research and find out how many forms of life are there, actually finding out. How will you find out? But that information is already given. Precise exact number is given in the scriptures. 400,000 species of human beings are there, right? 9 lakh species of aquatics are there. Everything is there. 1 lakh species of this one, there's an exact number of all different species of life given. But we don't want to accept that. We say it is mythology, it's myth. No, it's not myth. It's a fact. But then we will do research and then we will find out about the creation. Srila Prabhupada is saying this is a foolish attempt. Vasishtha Muni said already in the past that it is not possible to measure the glories of the Lord, and no one will be able to do it even in the future. What is the mantra of the scientists? We have not found it out yet, but in future we will do. But Sadhu says, even in future, no one will be able to do it. Take it from me. So then, how do we get knowledge? We get knowledge from the Vedas, from Shastra. So one must simply be satisfied with seeing the glorious activities of the Lord and accept this statement of the Shastra that the Lord's activities are unestimable. They are glorious. They are so great. And we are so small. Just accept this fact. Then you are a devotee. Krishna says, Vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekamshena sthito jagat. Krishna's one fragmental expansion, that is Paramatma. Paramatma as Karanodakashaya Vishnu, Paramatma as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Paramatma as Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. He enters, and then there is this wonderful creation. We can't even understand this one small universe, and there are innumerable universes in the entire material creation, and one fragment of Krishna is the cause of this whole material creation. How you can understand Krishna? With your tiny brain. Even that brain, your intelligence, your mind is also created by this material energy. This material energy is the maid servant of Krishna. So, by challenging, we will never understand the glories of the Lord. It is not possible. And we all will just die. Challenging, death will come and will be finished. And we will be forgotten for good. What is the glory in this type of life? On the contrary, if you accept the glory of the Lord and you become a devotee of the Lord, you will be recognized in the three worlds. Even in the spiritual world, if you become a devotee, everyone recognizes. Like Bali Maharaj, even though he is from Daityas, because he is a devotee, everyone, all the deities of all the different planets came there. The Supreme Lord himself came. So this is the glory of being a devotee. Okay. So with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. The material world consists of innumerable universes, each one full of innumerable planets, which are all considered to be products of the Supreme Lord's material energy. And this whole material creation is just one small portion of the entire creation. Majority of it is the spiritual creation. One small portion is this material creation. Among the innumerable planets, only one universe in which we are living. The scientists say this is all, there's nothing beyond this. But from Shastra, we understand there are many, many, many. This is the smallest universe. There are much, much bigger universes still in the material world. And this whole material world is just a small portion of the entire creation. Can you imagine? So that is why anyone who says this is everything, and even within this universe, they have the audacity to say only this Earth planet has life. All other planets have no life. It's simply they are gas giants. This is called craziness. How do you prove that there is no life there? Have you been there? But we can prove from Shastra. And then we can show how Shastra is not written by any human being. Apaurusheya. So therefore an intelligent person accepts the words of the Shastra, not of a person who is going to die or who is destined to die. We don't take such person's words seriously. If they go against the conclusion of Shastra, we don't take such person's words seriously. So this is the word of Srimad Bhagavatam. Noonam pramatta kurute vikarma. Such crazy men unnecessarily waste time, energy and money, isn't it? They waste their time. This God-given intelligence and energy they're spending in activities to prove things against God, to prove that there is no God. They're spending all their energy, time, and even the Lord's money they're spending in attempting to defy the glorious activities of Urukrama. That is why they are called crazy. Next. Ya idam deva devasya harer adbhuta karmanaha avataranucharitam Shrinvan yati param gatim. I forgot who's supposed to read now.
Hare Krishna,
Oh,
Mataji.
yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Please go ahead.
If one hears about the uncommon activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his various incarnations, he is certainly elevated to the higher planetary systems or even brought back home, back to Godhead.
So we don't have to be intelligent. We don't have to be smart. We just have to have a simple heart to accept the greatness of the Lord, hear his wonderful activities, and take pleasure. You like to read storybooks, you like to watch movies and hear some stories about people, some news about people, what this person did, that person did, and you take pleasure out of that. If you simply take pleasure in hearing about the wonderful activities of the Supreme Lord, where do you find them? In Srimad Bhagavatam. Just simply hear about the wonderful activities of the Supreme Lord in his various incarnations. And the result is you will be elevated. Eventually, you can go back home, back to Godhead. And instead of doing such a simple act, we pose to be very smart, very advanced, very knowledgeable, and all our energy is spent in defying the authority of the Lord, rejecting the glories of the Lord. And the result of such activity is repeated birth and death in this material world. That means being kicked by the material energy again and again in the face. That is the result. So that's why Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us to be intelligent. Hear about the glories of the Lord. Kriyamane karmani dam daive pitriyetha manushe yatra yatra anukirtyeta tattesham sukritam viduhu. Yes. Prabhuji is there, Mataji? Shamal Gopika Mataji? Lokesh?
No, Mataji.
No. Okay. So next, Kalpesh Prabhu and Sonia Mataji.
Whenever the activities of Vamandev are described in the course of a ritualistic ceremony, many be performed to please the demigods, to please one's forefathers in Pitraloka, or to celebrate a social event like a marriage. That ceremony should be understood to be extremely auspicious.
Very nice. So if you want any activity to become very, very auspicious, what type of activity? Like a ritualistic ceremony. What type of ritualistic ceremony? Let's say you're having some vrata at home or some marriage, some birthday ceremony, something you're doing. Yeah. So whenever the activities of Vamandev are described in the course of a ritualistic ceremony, whether the ceremony is performed to please demigods or to please forefathers, pitris, like Shraddha ceremony, or to celebrate a social event like marriage or birthday or anything where people just gather together and there's like a social celebration, or you're doing some ceremony for forefathers, or even to please the demigods. If you're doing in such a ceremony, if you describe the activities of Vamandev, then that ceremony should be understood to be extremely auspicious. Just like we read, by any activity which is accompanied by chanting the holy names of the Lord becomes faultless. Similarly, any festival or any ceremony which is in which you describe the glories of Vamandev, then such a ceremony becomes extremely auspicious. Purport. Sonia Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
There are three kinds of ceremonies, specifically ceremonies to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the demigods, those performed for social celebrations like marriages and birthdays, and those meant to please the forefathers, like the Shraddha ceremony. In all these ceremonies, large amount of money are spent for various activities. But here it is suggested that if along with this, there is a recitation of the wonderful activities of Vaman Deva, certainly the ceremony will be carried out successfully and will be free of all discrepancies. Thus, and the Bhaktivedanta purports of 8th Canto, 23rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Demigods Regain the Heavenly Planets. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna. So when anyone is getting married, for example, everyone is busy making all arrangements. One person can be given this service to just sit down and just read Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th canto, chapters, 20, 21, 22, 23, like that, about the activities of Vamandev. That's all. The whole activity will become most auspicious. Similarly, any ceremony, let one person get this service, and others who they can, so or in the mic you can be reciting, reading, and everyone is listening, right? Let's say you're cooking, cutting up, so one person is reading, or even like that. So that ceremony should also include the recitation of the activities of Vamandev. If you include, then that activity becomes most auspicious. Yeah. So now we completed this chapter. We are going to the next chapter. We will begin that chapter tomorrow, chapter 24. Matsya, the Lord's fish incarnation. I think I'll just read the summary today and we'll begin tomorrow. This chapter describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnation as a fish, and it also describes the saving of Maharaj Satyavrata from an inundation. Does anyone remember why we are reading all these? Like we just read Vamandev, we are going to read Matsyadev. Why we are reading? Anyone remembers?
Manu.
Yes. Parikshit Maharaj asked Sukadev Goswami, can you tell me about the different incarnations of the Lord, Manvantara incarnations, right? The incarnations of the Lord that appeared in various Manus and what his activities are. I'm very much interested. So he was very happy after hearing Nrsingadev's pastime. And then he's telling, can you tell me about other incarnations that appeared in the various Manvantaras? So therefore we read about what are the 14 different Manvantaras, who are the Manus, right? The government, who are changing, who, like that. Then while describing the Manus or each Manvantara, the government that is coming, and then who is that Manvantara avatar, that incarnation of the Lord, because in every Manvantara there is also one Manvantara avatar that comes in that Manvantara. So that's how we discussed about Ajita Bhagavan, right? Samudra Manthan Leela we discussed. Then Vaman Dev. Now we are going to discuss Matsya Dev, like that. Okay. Matsya, the Lord's fish incarnation. This chapter describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnation as a fish, and it also describes the saving of Maharaj Satyavrata from an inundation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself by Swamsha, his personal expansions, and Vibhinnamsha, his expansions as the living entities, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:8. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma. Okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appears on this planet for the protection of the sadhus or devotees and for the destruction of the miscreants or non-devotees. So we read this in Chaitanya Charitamrita last night. Yes. He especially descends to give protection to the cows, the brahmanas, the demigods, the devotees, and the Vedic system of religion. Thus he appears in various forms, sometimes as a fish, sometimes a boar, sometimes Narsimhadev, sometimes Vamandev, and so on. But in any form or incarnation, although he comes within the atmosphere of the material modes of nature, he is unaffected. This is a sign of his supreme controlling power. Although he comes within the material atmosphere, Maya cannot touch him. Therefore, no material qualities can be attributed to him in any degree. Once at the end of the previous kalpa, a demon named Hayagriva wanted to take, so this is previous kalpa, so previous day of Brahma, One day of Brahma has 1000 yuga cycles. That means 1000 Satya yugas, 1000 Treta, Dwapara, Kali yugas. So we are in the Kalpa that we are in. Now we are in the 28th yuga cycle. And with again that Kalpa is divided into 14 Manvantaras. So we are in the 7th Manvantara, Vaivasvata Manvantara. Within that we are in the 28th yuga cycle, Kali yuga. Okay. But this incident happened in the previous Kalpa, not this Kalpa. Once at the end of the previous Kalpa, a demon named Hayagriva wanted to take the Vedic knowledge away from Lord Brahma at the time of annihilation. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took the incarnation of a fish at the beginning of the period of Swayambhuva Manu and saved the Vedas. During the reign of Chakshusha Manu, there was a king named Satyavrata who was a great pious ruler. So, Matsyadev appeared at the beginning of Swayambhuva Manvantara. Swayambhuva is the first Manu in the Kalpa. Matsyadev appeared then also. The Supreme Lord took the form of a fish at the beginning of Swayambhuva Manvantara. For what purpose? To save the Vedas. So now we are talking about Chakshusha Manvantara. This is later, the 5th Manvantara, right? So during the reign of Chakshusha Manu, there was a king named Satyavrata who was a great pious ruler. To save him, the Lord appeared as the fish incarnation for a second time. King Satyavrata later became the son of the sun god and was known as Shraddha Deva. He was established as Manu by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To receive the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Satyavrata engaged in the austerity of subsisting only by drinking water. Once, while performing this austerity on the bank of the Kritamala river and offering oblations of water with the palm of his hand, he found a small fish. The fish appealed to the king for protection, asking the king to keep him in a safe place. Although the king did not know that the small fish was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, as a king, he gave shelter to the fish and kept him in a water jug. The fish, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, wanted to show his potency to King Satyavrata, and thus he immediately expanded his body in such a way that he could no longer be kept in the jug of water. The king then put the fish in a big well, but the well also was too small. Then the king put the fish in a lake, but the lake was also unsuitable because it kept growing big. Finally, the king put the fish in the sea, but even the sea could not accommodate him, this fish. So, thus the king understood that the fish was no one else but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he requested the Lord to describe his incarnation as a fish. The personality of Godhead, being pleased with the king, informed him that within a week there would be an inundation throughout the universe, and then the fish incarnation would protect the king, along with the rishis, herbs, seeds, and other living entities, in a boat, which would be attached to the fish's horn. After saying this, the Lord disappeared. King Satyavrata offered respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord and continued to meditate upon him. In due course of time, annihilation took place, and the king saw a boat coming near. After getting aboard with learned Brahmanas and saintly persons, he offered prayers to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, and thus he taught Maharaj Satyavrat that the saintly persons he taught Maharaj Satyavrat and the saintly persons about Vedic knowledge from the core of the heart. King Satyavrat took his next birth as Vaivasvata Manu, who is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Vivasvan Manave Praha. The sun god spoke the science of Bhagavad Gita to his son Manu. Which Manu? Vaivasvata Manu. Because of being the son of Vivasvan, this Manu is known as Vaivasvata Manu. So we are in Vaivasvata Manvantara only now. So tomorrow we will begin with text 1 of chapter 24. This chapter is about Matsya Bhagavan. So now we will read Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 18, text 54. Please repeat. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu
सर्वेषु भूतेषु
madbhaktim labhate param.
मद्भक्तिर्लभते पराम्.
One who is thus transcendentally situated
One who is transcendently situated
at once realizes the Supreme Brahman
at once realizes the
and
Supreme
becomes fully joyful.
and becomes fully
He
joyful,
never laments or desires to have anything.
or desires to have
He is
anything.
equally disposed
He is equally
toward
disposed
every living entity.
to ours everything.
In that state, he
That
attains pure devotional service unto me.
he attains pure devotional service unto me.
We were talking about the duties of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra as ordained in the scriptures. And the Lord said, anyone who carries out his duties according to his nature, he does not incur any sinful reaction. Further on, the Lord said that this activity must be done with being free from desire to enjoy the fruits of that work. That means, so there's a description. The previous verse says, what is the consciousness of this person who's doing nishkama karma? By doing nishkama karma yoga, eventually he will realize Brahman. So when he realizes Brahman, then what is his consciousness? That is explained here. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. What is the result of that? He becomes fully joyful. Brahma bhuta prasannatma. Na shochati na kankshati. He is not lamenting, nor is he hankering for something. He is fully peaceful, fully satisfied. And another quality is he is equally disposed toward every living entity. He doesn't see this is my friend, this is my enemy, this is good and that is bad. No, he sees everyone as spirit souls. So spirit souls, they're all good, nobody is bad. But the conditioning makes someone bad. So he's able to see everyone with an equal vision. And someone who attains this stage of Brahman realization, he can enter into pure devotional service. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Purport. To the impersonalist, should I read or read? Okay, let's read the purport tomorrow because it's already 8 o'clock. I just read the verse today. Tomorrow I'll read the purport and we'll read Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrita. Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrita, continuation from yesterday. Okay, so what did we read yesterday? Srila Prabhupada is going to the bindery, right? The papers are printed now, they are binding it into books. So the binding was reddish, the color of an earthen brick, and was inlaid with gold lettering. Bhaktivedanta Swami had designed the dust jacket himself, and he had commissioned a young Bengali artist named Salit to execute it. It was a wraparound picture of the entire spiritual and material manifestation. So the first canto, right? So that was designed by Srila Prabhupada. Dominating the front cover was a pink lotus, and within its whirl were Radha and Krishna and their pastimes in Vrindavan, along with Lord Chaitanya chanting and dancing with his associates. From Krishna's lotus planet emanated yellow rays of light, and in that effulgence were many spiritual planets appearing like so many suns. Sitting within each planet was a different four-armed form of Narayan, each with his name lettered beneath the planet. Trivikrama. Trivikrama is who? Vamandev. Keshava, Purushottama, and so on. Within an oval at the bottom of the front cover, Mahavishnu was exhaling the material universes. That means from his body, so many universes are coming out. On the inside cover was Bhaktivedanta Swami's explanation of the cover illustration. So I'm sure, or I think all of you have Bhagavatam sets, so just look at the cover of the first canto, then you will understand this description. When the printing and binding was completed, there were 1100 copies. How many? 1100, 1100 copies. Bhaktivedanta Swami would receive 100 copies because Srila Prabhupada paid only part of the money. He would receive 100 copies and the printer would keep the balance. From the sale of the 100 copies, Bhaktivedanta Swami would continue to pay off his debt to the printer and binder. Then he would receive another supply of books. This would continue until he finished paying his debt. His plan was then publish a second volume. So this was only the first canto, first volume, not in first canto, first volume, because first canto was printed in 3 volumes. So this was the first volume. So with the money that he would get by distributing the first volume, he would now publish a second volume from the profits of the first and a third volume from the profits of the second. This is his plan. Kantvedi or Kantvedi went to pick up the first 100 copies. He hired a man who put the books in large baskets, placed them on his hand truck, and then hauled them through the streets to the Chippivada temple, where Bhaktivedanta Swami stacked them in his room on a bench. Bhaktivedanta Swami went out alone to sell his books and present them to important people. Dr. Radhakrishnan, who gave him a personal audience, agreed to read the book and write his opinion. Hanuman Prasad Poddar was the first to write a favorable review. It is a source of great pleasure for me that a long cherished dream has materialized and is going to be materialized with this and the would-be publications. I thank the Lord that due to His grace, this publication could see the light. So we can stop here. We will continue tomorrow. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. All of you have a wonderful day in Krishna consciousness. I will see you tomorrow in Srimad Bhagavatam class, or if you are joining the Mahabharat session, it's at 10 o'clock, and Chaitanya Charitamrita reading at 7 o'clock in the evening. Hare Krishna.